Hey everyone, it's a dose of Dr. Drew.
Hey there, let's see, where am I? Over here?
Over here.
Over there, okay. You're not going to play the tape that sets this all up, huh? You're afraid you're going to freeze again?
Do you want me to do it? Okay, let me do it.
Let's try, because we're going to have Elex Michaelson in here, so if you're not
Okay,
aware
here
of
we
our
go.
show, here's a sampler.
Real talk.
Headlines have become sickening. They become poisonous.
Dissecting headlines.
Defying state orders. Sheriff Bianco not enforcing what the governor is saying.
Dialed in with decision makers.
Clarify what you actually meant.
Get the answers you need.
At the beginning of this, we were told, don't wear a mask. Is this really helping?
Expect a different kind of newscast. Fox 11 News Special Report. Weeknights at 7.
There you have it.
And that is Elex on the other line. He is coming down from Sacramento, where he was interviewing the president and the governor and some of the governor's sort of secretary level personnel. And Elex is the Fox News anchor here in Los Angeles. If those of you who are not from Los Angeles, why do I feel like I'm not looking at the camera?
Go to the other one now.
This one? Okay, there we go. And he and I do a show at 7 o'clock on weeknights here local in Los Angeles on Channel 11. Elex, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Dr. Drew. Good to talk with you.
So I got a million questions for you. Let's start with what the experience was like up there in Sacramento.
I mean, it was one of those sort of unforgettable experiences that you'll kind of remember when you look back at your broadcast career. It's one of those days. I mean, what's interesting about President Trump is he is just the most unpredictable.
Uh-oh.
He'll come back.
Covering events where everything is incredibly choreographed and they hit their mark and they go here and they go there and everything's on time and it's very orderly and you kind of know what you're going to get. With President Trump, you really just don't know what you're going to get. So it's one of the reasons why he does usually rate higher, because people enjoy sort of a sense of
the entertainment and the unpredictability and all that kind of stuff. Well, one of the questions I asked you last night was, after you got into that chamber with the governor and all his secretaries and then, of course, the president, I asked you, that one sort of viral piece came out about the climate change, but he says these crazy things, and then everything else that happened gets left behind. Did you have that kind of sense of things after you left the room? Oh, did I lose Elex? We need to get him to a point. I can work with the restream while we wait for him to go to a place of better reception. Why don't you take Elex, Susan? And then you can pull him off from me, and I can get on the line here with. Oh, Anthony Brown's on here with us. I just did a long podcast with Anthony Brown, in which he told me his entire story in more detail. You'll be able to hear that on the Dr. Drew podcast very soon. I recommend it highly, highly, highly. It's an extraordinary story, but it's absolutely characteristic of homelessness and drug addiction in our country, particularly in the last 20 years or so. So please do have a look at that when we put that up. You can get that at drdrew.com. What's the matter, Susan?
I do have an interesting question.
Okay. Why is no one talking about how we can't go out of our house because of the fear of being assaulted by drug addicts and mentally ill homeless? We, the taxpayers, have no rights, but these people have all the rights to harass us. Well, that is something I've heard, which is, why is there zero accountability to certain people in the state of California and only the most accountability for anybody who has a business or who is working? You're the ones that we have to, you have to do your fair share. While we have a large population, we ask nothing of them. Adam always talks about there's a strip called Forest Lawn Drive in Southern California, and people sell flowers along the road there. And the people that sell those flowers, they do so legally, but they do it without a license, without any encumbrances, without paying taxes, without paying property taxes or business tax or anything else. And he said, you want to understand how it goes in California? He goes, on one side, you have people selling stuff on their wares and their, the flowers, however they please. At the end of the strip is a brick and mortar business that's going out of business, that's trying to play the EDD and trying to pay property taxes. And along the road, there's cops stopping the taxpayers for speeding. So if you're a taxpayer, they're gonna get you along that road. But anybody doing anything else without a license or without any sort of at the time, it was actually illegal to do it. That Adam was talking about this story. That's kind of how it works in California. We don't seem to hold some people accountable, and the other people are held hyper accountable. It's very, very difficult, very challenging. And why people who pay the taxes or aren't and who can't take their kids to the park because there's needles everywhere and can't walk through downtown Los Angeles anymore, don't have a say. It's hard to understand. It's hard to understand. But Anthony's point, which he made to me very seriously, which is that you should go out, and I agree with him on this. In spite of the fact that there are people who are, problematic and difficult and dangerous, you should still go out of your way to treat everybody you see on the street as human beings and offer a hand, which he and I agree wholeheartedly on. But see if you can get people into services. There's lots of services out there, and see if you can move people towards proper care, because left out on the street, they're going to die. That's just how it works right now. Thank you, Carol. Let's see. All right. Do I know the point to why the governor and President Trump got together? It was to look at the wildfire situation. Simon, you just be nice. That's exactly right. And you shouldn't be fearful. I mean, that just adds to the fear. I mean, I've done a lot of outreach downtown, and the problem I have is getting people, moving people into care where they can get, keep moving forward. I mean, Anthony's story, if you read his book, is from Park Bench to Park Avenue, and it tells you the whole story about how somebody can make that transformation. And by the way, Anthony, who's on the thread here, will agree with me. The reason he was able to make that is because somebody reached out to him, and in a moment of change, he was willing to hear it. A cop finally said, "Don't you want some help?" Then once he got out of jail, a woman took him to a treatment center and offered him a cigarette. And that moment of just being available to him and, just communing with him was deeply meaningful and moved him down his road to recovery. All right. Okay. Juhos Frat wants to know about nurse practitioners becoming independent practitioners. I think that's the only way we're going to be able to actualize the healthcare system we plan to be actualizing.
That noise of an airplane landing, I think it's Elex.
That's Elex back.
He may be back.
Well, let me just say that if you're going to make, you can't hold physicians responsible legally for everything. You just can't do it anymore. So if you're going to want physicians to supervise nurse practitioners or physician extenders of various types, you first of all, you're going to have to make them mostly independent, and you're going to have no liability flowing upstream, or we just can't do this. It's just not a smart. We just need to keep everyone using their own judgment, and that judgment needs to be a good defense in malpractice cases.
Hurry before we lose him.
All right, so Alex, you were saying, I asked you a question about being in the room with the governor and the president, and I was saying, when I've been at the White House and I've seen these, I've spent an entire day on symposiums and things, and I've seen some extraordinary things getting done. For instance, the opiate crisis in this country ended, in my opinion, because of this one-day symposium they had. It was the First Lady's thing, but it was Jeff Sessions that said, "I'm going to make some really serious changes." He did, and that made all the difference in the world. But at the end of that day of really these very important sorts of policy ideas being tossed around, Trump unexpectedly came in the room. Again, it was unplanned, and he said, again, off the cuff things. He said, "I don't know. In some countries, I hope we take care of this problem. But in some countries, they make drug dealers pay the ultimate price. We don't do that here. Maybe we should." Headline for the entire day was, President Trump says we should kill drug dealers, and the whole day was completely lost to the public. Did you have that sense that things get lost that are actually getting done because of some of these goofy things he says?
Well, yeah. I mean, that does happen sometimes, but I think part of the challenge, if the the question, President Trump likes the show.
Yeah.
He enjoys the show.
Yeah.
And he's a TV
We're losing you again.
meeting so that they could get stuff done and have a conversation in a certain way, and wasn't so much about being on TV and was more about let's actually have a constructive conversation about this.
Right.
And the president, after potentially agreeing with that, chose not to do it that way. And so when you do bring in the cameras and turn it into more of a TV show, it may not be as productive. Now, for us in the TV business, you want to see all that stuff because it's much more interesting. And there's an argument to be made that, for transparency's sake, it's a lot better to see the government in action. And President Trump has shown the way a lot of things work in ways that never really happened before. But there's also an argument to be made that maybe if the two of us were really trying to hammer out a deal, would it be better to be doing it live on TV, or would it be better to do it, behind closed doors and try to, work with each other? And that's a sort of an interesting balancing act.
Right. But the
pushback on what you're saying is, if President Trump hadn't have said that,
right, exactly,
more message discipline, maybe that wouldn't have happened.
Well, and so did something happen in that room that you would have reported on had that sort of the climate change denying headline not hit?
Well, there was no actionable item from the meeting yesterday. It wasn't like they came out with some new understanding of climate change, or they announced some new emergency declaration plan, or anything like that. I mean, the meeting itself was really a photo op, and it was arranged with like a day and a half's notice.
Right.
And it was, an opportunity for them to make their case. But, the more sort of the most dramatic moment was this question over climate change. It's the question that I asked the president about before he even got into that meeting. And of course, the crux of it was on that same question. And it's the discussion that we had on Friday night when we had Jake Levine, who is a former Obama climate aide, that was on our Fox 11 show. And it's a discussion you and I have been having via email and via phone ourselves. This question of, okay, is it climate change? Is it forest management? Or is it all of the above? And what was really interesting yesterday was that Gavin Newsom said to President Trump, you're right on forest management. We need to do more. We need to do better. And we need your help doing better, because 57% of California lands are controlled by the federal government. The state of California only controls 3% of California's forest land. So he's like, let's work together on this. And they both talked about that they do want to work together on it. The question is it forest management and climate change and some of these other things? Is it a yes and, not an either or?
Right.
Governor Newsom is saying it's a yes and. President Trump is saying, yeah, I'm not willing to go there on climate. I'm not willing to say that on camera.
Right.
And he's like, let's take care of the forest management first.
And the thing I keep saying is, let's posit climate change. We got to do the forest management because it's undoing all of our efforts to affect climate change. And Scott Adams pointed something out interesting today too. If it's not forest management in the United States, why are there no fires in Canada? There's fires.
Right. I mean,
there's fires.
It does look like
they go right to the border. They go right to the border of Washington, and then nothing in Canada.
Well, and that's something that the president said to me yesterday when I asked him about forest management and what your strategy is. He said, look to Europe. He said he's had conversations with several of the different leaders of European countries who take a lot of pride in their forest management system, and has talked to him about it, and that there have not had the same sort of fire problems since they started being more aggressive on that front.
Isn't that interesting? It's all very, very interesting. And let me stand back for a second and talk about news journalism for a second. I'm aware of how hard you work to offer both sides in a complete manner. And I think that it feels to me like local news has had a resurgence because of that willingness to kind of do journalism. What's going on the cable news side, and what do we do about that?
Well, I mean, they have found in the cable news business model right now tremendous success in preaching to the choir.
Are they having success, or are these death cries? Is it their desperate attempts to cling to whatever's left?
The Fox News channel is the #1 network in all of cable.
Yeah.
Not in cable news, in all of cable.
Yeah.
It is. There are many nights where programs on the Fox News channel are outrating broadcast TV programs at the same time. That never used to happen. Ever.
Right.
So they're getting, their audience is older, and you watch the ads, and they're a lot of denture ads and prescription drug ads, as is the case for the nightly evening newscasts on the networks. But the cable news is still has a huge audience. And the other thing that's interesting about the cable news world in the social media era is there's a feedback loop. So, you got all these people that are like media monitors on the left and the right that are watching these cable newscasts all day, even in the middle of the day when not a lot of people are watching them. Mm-hmm. And then they'll pick up on moments or things that people say and then put them on the internet and turn it into a meme or something negative or something positive. Right. And then these moments that maybe not that many people saw in real time become huge because they play to somebody's pre-existing fears or pre-existing opinions and doubles down on something either negative or positive that they can share it out in an angry or excited way. Yep. And then it has this own huge life of its own. Right. Like the biggest thing yesterday, I was tweeting all day because part of the cool thing was that we were part of the pool. So I'm literally there as all this stuff is happening in real time. And as a member of the pool, I felt a special obligation to try to get as much content out as possible because that's my job, to document this and get it out. And so Gavin Newsom's team came up to me after the meeting, and I know they were a little frustrated that the president brought the cameras in the first time, and they said, here is this packet that we gave the president and everybody here. And it was this packet of 8 pictures that you could see on a PowerPoint slide, or really that were so basic it was like something you would give to a second or third grader. Right. It's getting hotter, and 3 things that show
you actually showed it last night. Little bar graphs.
Right. So I tweeted that out. And I tweeted out the president's emotional moment with the soldiers, and I tweeted out him coming in, and I tweeted out Newsom on climate change. The picture graph became the biggest thing that I had in terms of success on social media, because everybody just loved showing that as a mocking of the president's intelligence.
I see.
So it became a vehicle for them to do that instead of talking about the science or complimenting the amazing soldiers that saved 250 lives and honoring them. It was let's troll President Trump and make fun of him in Twitter.
It's
and
so
that's
strange.
What did well.
It is so strange.
It's so weird sometimes what hits and what doesn't, and how things work, and what captures people's imagination.
It's really wild to me. And that's the new piece. That it's all about who's in. Is it going to continue around the Oval Office when we don't have a Trump? It's hard to. It's very, very, very strange.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Biden, it is hard to imagine. Go ahead.
Susan's talking to us. Oh, here's something so sad that none of the conversation about forest management was reported by the media. Only thing I saw was Trump saying it's going to get cooler and science isn't always correct. You did not watch our show because we talked about it specifically.
You didn't watch us.
Yeah, we specifically showed all sides of the story there, and I even asked Alex what was it like in the room, except for that viral moment, and we talked about this stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I think local news. Local news is having a resurgence. I really do, and I'd heard that the numbers were bearing that out. But it just feels like people. Let's put it this way: at least people trust local news more than cable news, and I think that's a reasonable position for them to have.
Well, and I think both right now have different business models. If local news gets too political, we tend to lose audience, because that's not what people are looking for in that space. They're looking for facts, and local news it is the place that you go when your community is really in crisis.
Right.
Whether it be and unfortunately this year we've had a lot of that.
Right.
Whether it be the riots in the streets, whether it be the coronavirus shutdowns, whether it be the wildfires, all of these situations when you need to know what's the situation on my street. Is my kid's school going to be open? Is it safe for me to go outside right now? Where do I need to go? All of that sort of really matters to people's life. It is what we're doing more in local news, whereas cable, which doesn't really necessarily have the ability to do that sort of hyper local information because it's just too big an audience.
Right.
They need to put on a sort of entertaining TV show that is almost become like a reality show at night, with the cast of characters that you either like or don't like, and
wow,
and it feels like that on MSNBC. On MSNBC, the Trump and Mike Pence and all the rest of them are like the evil ones on the reality show, and you got Elizabeth Warren is a hero, and on Fox News Channel Elizabeth Warren is like Satan, and then it's like it's so different, the same players, but they are cast in like opposite reality shows with the good guy and the bad guy, or like a superhero movie.
You're so right. You're so right, and as always, when television viewing becomes about shows that makes us shake our head, I blame us. We're the ones watching. We vote with your remote or your DVR or whatever you're doing, because it's about us that they're responding to. Did you always want to be in
100%?
Did you always want to be in TV journalism?
Yeah, I did. I did. I mean, from the time I was a little kid, I either wanted to do that or maybe do something in politics, and now I kind of get to do both, which is what's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I was like a second or third grader that was obsessed with watching the Today Show and the KTLA Morning News. I used to watch Good Day LA, and I used to, I loved Meet the Press with Tim Russert, which is one of my like big inspirations as a kid. And I would watch it. I would tape a lot of the shows. I mean, I was really into it. I mean, the reasons I loved it so much was this concept of being an eyewitness to history, to be able to travel, to be able to tell people's stories, to be with people on their best days and worst days. And frankly, Dr. Drew, yesterday, we've been so cooped up, and I've spent most of my entire career was as a field reporter, not even as an anchor. And even as an anchor at Fox 11, I insisted on going out and doing stuff, and they really haven't wanted me to go out recently because of coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love spending time with you every night. It is honestly my favorite time of the night. I'm not just saying that to blow smoke, but I really do enjoy that show because it's so dynamic, and that show really is more reporting than anything else, because we're learning information and making news on that show.
Yeah.
But it was such a joy for me and such a relief for me to be out in the field yesterday and to spend a day surrounded by people and moving around and out of the building, and I physically felt better.
I'm telling you, I know what you're saying. I told you I've been getting depressed. Had it not been for the show I was doing with you, I don't know what I would have done, because it helped me be able to contribute and do something. But not getting out in the world is deeply problematic. I mean, it's not good for our psyches. Really bad. So good. I'm glad you got to do that. Even though it means an 9-hour drive from Sacramento or whatever you're on right now. Are you going to be in tonight?
I am. I'm coming in just to do your show.
Yay. You're not going to do the 10 o'clock?
Yeah. No, I am. I'm going to do the 10 as well.
Okay.
I'm coming in for doing. Yeah. So we got a big show tonight. I was just on the call. Do you know what we had? I don't know if you know what we have tonight.
They've not told me yet. Sheriff Alex Villanueva, who's the sheriff of LA County, who's a very visible and colorful figure around the country. Mm-hmm.
His deputies have just been shot this week. He apparently was watching our show last night. He saw Cheryl Dorsey, the former LAPD sergeant, who had some really critical comments about the LA Sheriff's Department on our show last night. And he called and said, I want to respond to that. So
I am so glad. I got to tell you something. I love Cheryl. I've known Cheryl for years, and I go to her, as you know, for lots of information about policing. But she brought up some really serious allegations, and I didn't know how to respond because I don't know. I don't know whether that's where that came from. Is it true? Is not? So I am delighted he's coming in tonight. That's great.
And then we also have my second favorite doctor, Dr. Oz, is going to be with us as well, which we're looking forward to. And one of the cool stories that we're going to talk about with him, or two of the cool stories. One is, I don't know if you know that I just found out about this today, that he's working on an initiative himself to try to get more Black doctors, and he's helping to support that mission and working closely on that issue.
You mean into medical school?
Yeah.
Well, you should know,
specifically in a pediatric.
Oh, that's interesting. You should know that our alma mater, the University of Southern California, and specifically mine, the medical school there, has been doing an exceptional job for quite some time about diversity. There's a dean of admissions she has been focused on that. She was actually my intern when I was I was a third-year medical student on a gynecology rotation. I've stayed in touch with her ever since. And she has prided herself for years in paying attention. And now it's begun to become mainstream, let's put it that way. So that you should
That's great.
Somebody should talk about that more. I don't know, but because that's something the school should be very proud of. Or maybe it's more than
The cool story we'll talk about tonight is that,
maybe we should.
They've got a new. We should book her. We should do that.
That's what I was just thinking. Maybe she could tell the story.
If only you had a show where you could talk about stuff like. And then there's a new Apple Watch that came out today that's much more focused on your health, and that apparently can tell you based off of its readings if you're having heart problems, and maybe give you a warning about a potential heart attack. So that's kind of interesting, and we're talk about that too.
There's a new iPad out too.
Wearable technology.
You should know I'm a little skeptical about a lot of that. Because where they've been. Well, we'll talk about it. But the other piece of news is for LA County, our case rate right now just came out for the day, and our case rate is now, if it stays here, we will drop down 2 color levels. Well, nearly 2 color levels. We're getting close. On Governor Newsom's new color plan. So isn't that interesting?
Red?
No, we might go to orange.
Or green?
Red,
they have a green?
We're definitely in the red zone. We've been in the red zone for a couple of days. No, there's no green. The only green is with Governor with Garcetti, and he's never going to get us there because I don't know why. We're never getting out of orange in his world.
So the Newsom take on why there is no green, because we talked to him about that. And he said green would signify that there's no problem and we're going back to normal and it's full speed ahead. And he said that during this time of coronavirus, can't take our eye off of that. And there is no, back to quote unquote normal, at least not for a while.
Yeah.
He does not have green.
I get that. I get it. Green sort of implies game on, and I get that. I have a chat stream going here, and people are asking, Elex, what do you think about Joe Rogan offering to moderate a 4-hour debate with Biden and Trump?
Well, at Fox 11, we'd be happy to have a 5-hour debate, and I'm happy to moderate.
Well, listen, I think
official offer.
I think it'd be a genius move on everybody's part. Because that's where everyone's.
You think so? You think that would be good? Would that be good for Joe Biden, though?
Well, that I don't know.
Format works for him.
Yeah, well, they'd have to negotiate it down in a way that helps him. But just the idea of, I just think that's a brilliant idea, because to have a sort of a gloves off conversation, I don't know, people would relate to that much more. I mean, let's put it this way: I think that kind of thing has a much greater potential of persuading people one way or another. I think it would be great for democracy. I think it would be interesting. I mean, look, this job is so incredibly important, and to have an actual discussion about it and have people really listen to ideas. It's hard to get people to listen to anything, these days, not filtered through their bubble. I mean, that's the one thing that's cool about the debate. That's one of the things, frankly, I love about our political show, The Issue Is, which is, oftentimes we will bring
really strong representatives from the right or the left on together, and then they debate.
Yeah.
And most of the people that listen to either of those sides are not used to ever hearing the other side.
Isn't that weird?
Because they only listen to things that they agree with. So, if we have, we had Hassan Piker, who's this big time progressive sort of socialist on the left. We had Michael Knowles, who's like Ben Shapiro's number 2 guy. And the two of them debated each other. That both of them have huge audiences. And so now for the first time almost ever, that, the right is hearing somebody from the left is hearing somebody from the right. And do I think they're going to be persuaded? Probably not. But at least it gives them an opportunity to be exposed to some different thoughts or some different ideas. And, the presidential debate is going to be one of the only times that people that maybe only watch Fox News are going to really hear an unfiltered version of the Democratic side, and vice versa.
Did any of that back and forth change your opinion on anything?
What do you mean? Listening to the two sides?
Yeah, when you let's say when you've been on one, the issue is your show, and you've had some I'm rather surprised. I mean, you take some extreme people, some people that normally, it's good television, but also who have very strong opinions on one way or another. Did any of those discussions change your opinion?
Yeah, honestly, I think the experience of hosting that show and hosting our show has made me more centrist, more than anything else. And it's made me realize that there are some legitimate points on both sides of the issue, and it's usually much more complicated than advertised.
Right.
The truth is often the truth is in the nuance.
That's exactly right.
And I think what's been exciting about our show together, the Fox 11 Special Report, is I think it's a unique space where we really have, I think, come to be trusted to call out the bullshit on both sides. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the show or not, but and so if somebody is saying something on the left or on the right that is really untrue, like provably like my whole thing is, I'm not going to fight you on the opinion because that's not my place. That's your place. That's not my place.
Right.
But I will fight you if you're not being factual.
Right.
My thing is I want to provide the best possible outlet for you to make your argument, as long as you're making an argument based off of facts, and take your opinion from that wherever you want. But if you're making up facts or smearing somebody with stuff that's just not true, I'll call you on that. And I think that people that watch our show routinely are seeing that we're willing to call out either side of the aisle if they're just not being factual.
Yeah.
I think that creates much more trust, right?
I hope. I mean, I agree. Thanks for joining me here in the middle, so both sides can hate you. I've been there for a little while. It's good times. But that's what Abraham Lincoln allegedly was trying to do, is find a middle ground. And I think a middle ground is really the only solution when you have extreme positions flying around out there. The World Health Organization estimates that each year approximately 1 million people take their own life. That's one death every 40 seconds. Experts predicted numbers would peak in 2020, but no one could have imagined the devastation brought on by COVID-19. During the coronavirus pandemic, you may experience anxiety, sadness, and loneliness. Existing mental health conditions, including severe anxiety and major depression, may worsen. If you're feeling hopeless, contemplating self-harm, or you're concerned about someone else, I'm here to tell you there is hope. A Mission for Michael is dedicated to helping clients achieve complete inner and outer transformation. Mission for Michael is the premier resource for intensive mental health treatment in Southern California. With an astonishing 2-to-1 client-to-staff ratio, each client in their facility receives individual care 24 hours a day, overseen by a team of all doctorate or master's level clinicians. With a focus on evidence-based treatment, along with personalized and compassionate care, they offer mental health treatment that can change lives. If you're suffering from mental illness or you're concerned about a loved one, go to amfmtreatment.com. Again, that's a Mission for Michael, amfmtreatment.com, or call 866-581-4401. Again, that is 866-581-4401. According to SAMHSA's National Survey on Drug Use and Health, approximately 20.3 million people above the age 12 suffer from substance use disorder. Incredible. The disease of addiction takes an average of 130 Americans every day. Sadly, the opioid crisis, which many consider the worst pandemic of our time, has been even further perpetuated by the spread of COVID-19. Since the start of the coronavirus outbreak, drug overdoses have increased by 18%. Factors like economic stress and social isolation have led to increased depression and unnecessary deaths. A Better Life Recovery is a premier addiction treatment center in Southern California, offering one of the most highly regarded and comprehensive addiction treatment programs in the United States. Dedicated to helping its clients achieve complete inner and outer transformation, they offer a 45 to 90-day program custom tailored to meet the needs of each individual client. Long-term is the way to go. Many of A Better Life's clients elect to stay up to 9 months to receive additional support. A Better Life Recovery will do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to ensure the success of every client. Are you ready for a better life? Go to abetterliferecovery.com or call 866-581-4401 now. With so much focus on keeping ourselves and our loved ones safe and healthy, it's easy to forget that most of us are going to experience things like allergies, colds, possibly even the flu. So, reminding you, proper hydration is crucial for all of these things. Remember, even slight dehydration can make you feel like you're getting sick, and none of us need that anxiety right now, that's for sure. That's where Hydralyte comes in. Longtime fans will remember my obsession with Hydralyte, which is simply the best oral rehydration product I've tried. I'm even more excited to introduce their brand new single-serve powder sticks. Simply pour one powder stick into a glass of water. They recommend 7 ounces. The powder dissolves almost instantly, creating the perfect balance of sodium, glucose, and water. Delivers up to 4 times the electrolytes of your typical sports drink. The other great news about Hydralyte's new powder sticks, they're 100% all natural, no artificial flavors, colors, or sweeteners. They're available in flavors like orange and lemonade, and they taste great. Hydration is crucial, and Hydralyte is fastest and easiest way to stay ahead of it. Get your supply of Hydralyte powder sticks now at hydralyte.com/DRDREW. Again, that's hydralyte.com/DRDREW, and then use that code Dr. Drew 25 at checkout. Let's see, there's some questions for you. I'm going through the, Susan, you had questions for Alex you wanted to ask.
I did.
You said you wanted to know, what, about where he grew up or something, or more about...
No, I mean, you guys talked about how he always wanted to be a newscaster when he was a kid, and that's really interesting. And how, I don't know, we don't know a lot about Elex.
You're a mystery, my friend.
His history.
So do you have any siblings?
I do. I have one sister who's 13 months younger than me, so we're very close in age, and we're close. She lives in Santa Monica, so we live about 10 minutes apart. My parents are in Venice now. I grew up in Agoura Hills, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. It's out by Calabasas and Malibu and Westlake Village. It's very suburbia.
This is your
to high school. I went to high school out there at Agoura High School. I was student body president of Gore High School, and also played on the basketball team and into mock trial and comedy sports, and really involved with a lot of different things. I went to USC where I was a double. Go ahead.
He's a little bit like you, Drew. He was the top of his class. You were like the captain of the football team, and you guys are very similar.
Yeah,
both local.
I went away for a while, but came back.
So you're both overachievers. Okay, so we know that.
And you, what was your double major?
Yeah, I double majored in political science and broadcast journalism, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
At first, I didn't even get into the broadcast journalism program at USC. They didn't think I was good enough for it, and I had to transfer into the program, and ended up graduating first in my class in the whole program.
That's fantastic.
And so did the fraternity thing at USC. I was president of my fraternity, which was Phi Kappa Psi, which no longer exists because they were kicked off the row for all sorts of problems after I left. It wasn't my thing. Not while I was president. I don't know. I've thought about leaving. I mean, I'm not like tied to SoCal. Like I always have to be here, but it's sort of worked out that at least so far, I've always been here. I've studied abroad in London when I was in school for about 6 months.
I did not know
I had
that.
a great time there. I spent summers a couple summers in Washington, D.C., interning when I was in college, and got to spend time in the Senate and the White House. Most of the time was in the Senate. It was a great time to be in the Senate because some of the senators at that time were Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and John McCain and Ted Kennedy and Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. And so I got to spend time with all those people, which was like a really interesting, crazy experience. And now I'm here, and it's kind of been, it was never my plan to be here. My first ever internship was at Good Day LA. I was 17. We lied about my age in order to for me to go to work there. And I worked on the show with Steve and Dorothy and Jillian, and really worked most closely with Dorothy, and was writing stories for her every morning when I was 17. And
that
was my start in broadcast. And then it was like a full circle moment to come back and eventually host the same show that I was an intern on.
That's great.
I used to go on that
who would have
show
ever thought?
all the time. Did we meet? Did we cross paths ever over the years?
I don't remember that. I wasn't there for that long. I was only there for 3 or 4 months in the summer.
Okay.
And I did most of the entertainment guests and that sort of thing while I was there.
Right.
But it was, so that's sort of how I got my start, and interned mostly at NBC with a guy named Conan Nolan, who's their political reporter and is probably my main mentor.
Really?
Colleen
still
Williams.
there, still doing a show.
Yeah.
Colleen and I were very close at the time when I was an intern there, and I know she's close with you, and she's fantastic. And it was yesterday being out at the presidential thing was wild because it was a bit of a full circle moment. I mean, I think I knew every single person there from like all the different stations, like all different points in my career. So
crazy.
It was cool. You know, I like in the last month or two, like I when I've done some stuff with the governor, other things that's made news, I've been referred to as veteran journalist, which to me is like hilarious. Like, when did I become the old guy? But like, when I think about it, like, I've been doing it for a little while now. Like, and you look back on things, and it's like I'm starting to have a little bit different perspective. And this show with you is like a total sort of happy accident.
Right.
I don't think either of us knew that this was going to happen, and we weren't planning for it. We got like a day and a half's notice that we were even doing the show, and we thought it was going to be maybe a 1 or 2 week, special.
Yep.
And all these, 6-7 months later, we're still going.
Crazy, right? I was in South Carolina at the time. I'd find a studio way. I was in Myrtle Beach. It was the craziest thing. And Oz was on with us then that first week. Remember, Oz did a bunch of stuff with us. And
seems like a year ago.
Yeah, well, so, it was like 7 months, 8 months ago.
Here's another question from somebody off the subject of...
that's what I was going to just ask him. Ask Elle if there's any news on letting people go to football games. In Dallas, the Cowboys will still be at 50% capacity this Sunday. I can tell you that we just had our first game in the gigantic new stadium here in Los Angeles, and there were no fans. What do we know about that, Alex?
Well, they're not going to be fans in California anytime soon.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the stuff that Gavin Newsom put out with all those tiers, and including the lack of the green that you're talking about, football is not even on that list. I mean, even if you get to the maximum allowable stuff, big crowds, concerts, football is not there. But that's not necessarily the case in other states. So we did see over the weekend, we saw crowds in Kansas City and Miami are allowing crowds. And I don't know about Texas. I know originally they were going to, it's your person saying that they're allowing 50% capacity. Is that
in
that
Dallas?
What your questioner is saying?
The Dallas Stadium, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were, I know their governor was pushing pretty hard on that to try to get that open. So it's going to be different in the different cities. I know it creates sort of a challenge for the NFL because it's a bit of a competitive disadvantage.
Yeah.
If you're in one of those cities that doesn't have it. The other question with NFL football that we wanted to see what would happen, and we'll see what happens as we go forward too, is the air quality has been so bad in California. Would it be safe for the football players to play and breathe in all that air? And they did go forward with the games this past weekend, but who knows? I mean, I'm looking at October as being one of the craziest news months of our lives. I mean, if you look at the way that the schedule is stacked, in the month of October, there's scheduled the World Series, the NBA Finals are in back-to-back weeks. There's 2 presidential debates and a vice presidential debate. And during all of that, they're supposed to, it's the height of our fire season when the Santa Ana winds are supposed to be the worst.
Right.
So we could be having all, the Lakers in the finals, the Dodgers in the World Series, and massive wildfires all at the same time. And the NFL is in the middle of its season too.
And by the way, did you see the ratings on the NFL Thursday through Sunday were like at all-time highs, like Super Bowl kind of levels? And I get it. I laid in front of the TV going, oh, it's such a relief to see football.
We started our stream and one of our followers went, meh, I'm watching football. Bye. And then I went, oh, there's football.
Yeah, no, I mean, it didn't feel good to watch football.
Yes.
It physically just made you feel better.
It's the same thing. It's the same exact feeling you're describing being up in Sacramento. It felt like I was living again. I had my life back. I was normal. Speaking of normal,
right.
I am really sick and tired of our head of Department of Health here in Los Angeles County continuing to harp about Labor Day. Today we went to an all-time low on number of cases. 4 per 100,000, 4.7 per 100,000, which is almost brings us into the orange level. And she had the temerity to well, we don't know what's going to happen from Labor Day. We know what's going to happen. We're 10 days out. We're 10 days out, and we're at all-time lows. Shut up. This was the thing I was saying at the beginning of this pandemic. They've got to stop with the panic porn.
Yeah.
It's too much for me. I mean, not to say we couldn't go back up. We could if we start opening up and things could get loose again. Yeah, it could happen.
There's got to be a discussion at the end of this about her, right? I mean,
okay, Alex is afraid to say anything, but I'm not.
No, Alex said it on TV. He said it because of first of all, it's an $800,000 a year job with a.
I told Drew he needs to get that job.
I know, which is a guaranteed.
He doesn't want to run for Congress. Screw that. You only get $200 a year, $200,000 a year.
And she gets guaranteed her retirement plan is insanely generous. And
do it.
not doing the job, in my humble opinion.
I remember at the beginning, she came out and what rubbed me the wrong way was she said, 7 people died of coronavirus or whatever it was today, and didn't mention anything about the fact that they were all 92 years old.
I just don't understand why the Board of Supervisors, or at least Catherine Barger, doesn't kind of push back or at least reframe some of the things she says. I don't understand that, but.
We're not going to
Well, you can tell that she being Supervisor Barger is starting to get a little annoyed. You could tell the other day when she was on with us, and she really deflected that Halloween story, which was, for listeners that may not know, there was this concept that maybe LA County would be canceling Halloween because some members of Dr. Barbara Ferrera's staff suggested that, and apparently that wasn't really true, and they didn't follow the protocol. And Supervisor Barger didn't even pretend to defend that, and her comment was basically, you got to ask Dr. Ferrera why her people are doing that. I mean, it was really like it was as much of a sort of
a tell.
Yeah,
it was a tell.
From her. And I think it maybe it highlighted the fact in a not so subtle way that maybe they're not exactly on the same page on everything.
And the clear-cut, continued dramatic falling in case rates and hospitalization rates after a massively crowded holiday weekend should put into bold relief how bad their judgment was almost about Halloween. That is terrible judgment, bad practice, really bad. Anyway, let me get off that for a second.
Okay, we have another question for Elex.
For Elex, who was your favorite person that you have interviewed in the past?
Other than Dr. Drew, of course.
You keep doing.
I know, he's good.
You're good.
You make me laugh.
I don't. Look, I mean, there's been a lot of interesting politicians and leaders and all of that, but one of my favorite, honestly, when I think of that as like who is my favorite person I've interviewed, there was this amazing story we did last year about this blind surfer who was this 11-year-old girl who had so much spunk and positivity and energy and like zest for life. And she wasn't letting anything slow her down. And my grandfather was blind, so I have a certain soft spot for that. And he really, when he started losing his eyesight, really kind of gave up. He didn't learn Braille and didn't have that much, spunk and zest for life. And this girl, and there was this organization called A Walk on Water, which is not a Jesus thing, but it's it's a group that helps kids that have different disabilities, whether it be mental or physical. They believe in water therapy and surf therapy. And, the act of getting somebody up on a board and out in the water can really be a transformative experience for them. And to see her sort of light up and to see the inspiration from her was like such a reminder that don't complain about your problems. That there's, that you can choose to be positive. Yeah. And I found that to be really enlightening and as enjoyable as any of the big celebrities or big politicians or anything like that.
Nice. On the chat stream here, people are getting a little confused about Fox 11, which is a local, nonpartisan, information-based journalism, and the Fox News Network, which is a national cable channel, is highly conservative. We don't have any overlap with the Fox News channel, do we, in any way?
Well, we do. I mean, they own. So we're both owned by Rupert Murdoch. I mean, we have the same. We're part of the sort of Fox News empire.
I thought they spun off Fox News as its own company.
No, well, yeah, and we're part of that company.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
So, but the station group is owned by Fox, but from an editorial perspective, we have no overlap. I mean, I've never had anybody from the Fox News channel ever make any comment on anything I've ever done ever. In terms, we don't work with them. They don't really work with us. We don't really promote each other. I mean, it's sort of there is technically an ownership thing, but it's not. We're not taking marching orders from them, and I would also argue that most of the actual news content on Fox News Channel is really excellent. And they have some tremendous journalists like Chris Wallace and Brett Baer and, folks in the field that just do, solid, reputable journalism day in, day out. And then their opinion folks who are labeled as opinion have their own, perspective and their own way of doing things. And we're not working with them on that one way or another.
Did you see there's a San Diego Board of Supervisor that is saying specifically they are going to defy what Newsom's orders are as it pertains to how to open up? He's saying the businesses aren't going to survive. He's got to open them, and that's going to be that. I saw that on Twitter yesterday. I sent it to Bill, our producer, to see if that was something we would cover. It's not in our immediate local news catchment, but it just caught my eyes. I'm expecting more of that kind of thing across California. And did you hear about that?
I hadn't heard about that. I mean, I've been, pretty locked in on that president visit the last couple of days. Yeah. So I haven't been doing my usual scouting of information, but that's an interesting story. It was interesting. We had this past week, we had one of the Riverside County supervisors on with us. Yep. And I asked her that same question that you're talking about. Yep. Are you basically going to openly defy? And she did not want to go that far. Yep. That this guy apparently or gal has apparently done. So, we'll see. I mean, maybe if the case rates really do go down as much as you're all saying, maybe they will be able to start reopening a lot of this stuff.
Well, we have to
sooner than what we thought.
We have to wait 2 weeks and all that kind of stuff. But the point is that anyway, the point is the really low rates are going to be very difficult to get to. But we'll see.
But as we've seen, the rules could change again.
You're right, exactly. Do you know a little historical detail here? Do you know where the term press pool came from?
No, where?
Well, if you do a tour of the West Wing, they take you to the press.
Oh yeah, okay. I do know this. Yeah.
Okay, they take.
The White House, what is now the White House briefing room, or underneath the White House briefing room, is where the press sits, right? Mm-hmm. And that used to be a pool.
It's still there. Pool. The pool is still there.
That
it literally, there's like a plywood on top of it. They'll pull the ply up. You can see the pool. There's still a pool under there.
Okay. When was that? When did you see the pool? Was that before the recent renovation of that, or was that?
That might have been before.
Before you shut it down.
Now I think about it, somebody did tell me they might have filled it all in. You're right.
Yeah. In like 2007, they redid the press briefing room, and I think that may no longer be there. But it used to be, and FDR really loved it because it helped him feel a lot he with his polio to swim laps. That's how he got his therapy and his exercise, and so that he used that pool at the White House.
He learned that all.
And JFK used to. I think he swam there as well, and may have had one of his affairs go on.
Well, there's all sorts of nefarious stories about JFK in that pool. So I will leave that to everyone. The Google fantasies. There's a lot of shit went down in that pool. Number one. And number two, for FDR, he learned the water therapy at a place called Warm Springs, if I remember, which was one of the first places in the country to treat polio patients. With sort of physical therapy and that sort of thing. Well, Elex, listen, I look forward to seeing you tonight. We'll have everyone hopefully properly wedded to come see our show now that we've had a chance to chat about things. And we're going to be talking to Dr. Oz. We're going to talk to the sheriff. And by the way, when the sheriff comes on our show, he always makes news. Last time he said he was going to let people go indoors to go to restaurants because the smoke was too bad outside. He just was going to let it go. But then I found out it isn't even so much his jurisdiction. That's more these health officials that can fine people for that. But any event, Elex, where are you now?
Good interview.
Where are you now?
I just literally am pulling into my place, so it was a nice use of my time.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, welcome home.
We'll see you at the station tonight, and anytime you want to do random presidential trivia, I'm always here.
All right, fair enough.
We couldn't stump the guest today, Drew.
We'll try. You can gear up for it. The only president I really know a lot about is Lincoln. I know a lot about Lincoln, and I know a moderate amount about Teddy Roosevelt, but that's sort of the extent of my trivia. All right, my friend. We'll see you in a couple hours.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Drew. Thank you, Susan. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Did you, Susan, you get to know Elex better now? Okay, good. I'm looking at the thread to see, I can start to give, you guys are complaining on the chat that I'm not giving enough information. We're just doing an interview today. Is that okay with you all? I'm sorry. If you need some, if you need some information, now's your chance to ask. I'm happy to try to answer stuff.
You got a question in an email. I'm actually looking at our emails now. So if anybody has a longer question and wants to ask it, they can go to drdrew.com/contact and send us an email. Sign up for our email list, and then you'll know when the shows are going to go live. But anyways, this one was kind of interesting.
Okay, let's put it up there.
You're probably going to yell, but I think you have to set the subject straight.
All right, let's hear it. Question about masking. The CD says masks are used to protect others, but offer little protection to yourself. You state masks work because doctors don't get sick. I recently talked to a lady on the plane who removed her mask and got sick. Which statement is correct? Okay, so there's a lot of confusion about masks. And to make matters worse, my friend Kelly Victory was poking holes in my own mask position. And so Kelly Victory would say masks are not beneficial. I'm here to say they are at least modestly, if not very beneficial. And although she was talking about how we're seeing strep infections and impetigo and viral infections and herpes and things on people's mouths and chins being transmitted by the mask, if you have a problem like that, don't wear a mask, maybe. Perhaps then you don't. But otherwise, we know that this thing is transmitted on droplets. There's concern about aerosols. That's being studied carefully, but the primary means of transmission is not your hands, not pens, not casino chips. It is droplets. It's for us talking and it coming into our nose, the ACE2 receptor binding, and in it comes to our body. On average, one of the calculations are that it takes about 15 minutes of exposure to get a transmission. So on average, it takes something like that. The majority of transmission happens in the home where we don't wear masks. I can tell you that having spoken to lots of flight attendants and pilots, they tell us that very, very, very few of their personnel get sick. They don't see much on the plane. There was a study recently where there were something like 6 asymptomatic carriers on a single plane, on a single fuselage, a single population of flyers. There was one transmission in one case where a woman took her mask down in the bathroom after she followed someone who was a known asymptomatic carrier, not at the time, into that bathroom. So there is evidence that the masks work. We have all this MIT data about the nature of droplets and how they spread and how they're inhaled. I'm saying, yes, we don't have double-blind placebo-controlled studies using Koch's postulates where somebody are given the virus. But I'm going to say that all things being equal, it's certainly a no harm, no foul. I mean, and you may have strong feelings about the government overreaching. I've noticed that most of the mask, I found out today Australia has a major anti-mask movement going, and Australian government has been draconian in terms of locking everybody down. So there seems to be a correlation between mask pushback and government overreach. And I get that. I get it. I'm mad too. I don't think the government should be doing some of the things they've done. But don't draw the line at the mask. It's such a non-thing. It doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt anything. And one of the it's much like hydroxychloroquine. Wait, am I here? There. Much like hydroxychloroquine. No harm, no foul, right? You like hydroxychloroquine. You want to make that argument that it has low risk. It's why do it? Mask is the same thing. No harm, no foul. That's my basic mask. And I didn't need to do it without screaming, Susan. How about that?
Yeah, well, I took the part out where she was kind of mad at you.
Okay.
Because you confused her.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry for confusing you.
But
and
she's
I hope
not
this,
here. It was an email, so.
But I hope this clarifies.
You can
things.
say whatever you
and
want.
if you listen to Dr. Victory, you're going to get more confused because that's how clinical science moves forward. Doctors read the literature. We know the sweep of the literature. We know the specific areas we're looking at. We assess that literature and determine whether or not it's good literature. And then we make our judgment, and then we argue with our peers to move the science forward. What do I think worse with opiate addiction, the geriatric population or the young middle adult population? Riza, I mean, it's a very difficult problem in geriatric populations, but it's more common in younger people, and it's killing more younger people. The older population, it is challenging to deal with. I will tell you that.
I heard it's up in California too.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Opioid.
University of Pittsburgh COVID discovery on the new drug antibody. Yes, I know. I'm waiting to see that literature and to read it more carefully, but it sounds like a really great advancement. As I said, the American healthcare system will improvise, will come up with some great treatments. There's just no doubt about it. I take gabapentin for 5 years for panic. 5 years works great. Moonfox, gabapentin is a very, very safe medicine. It was designed to be used long-term as a seizure medicine. It must be 4:30 because Rex is here bugging the hell out of me. Yeah, he always comes in about
4:08.
Yeah, he's a little early tonight. Anthony Brown, are geriatrics at more risk for overdose? Are you sure of that? Because I would argue, and I know this is your area at your hospital, but I would argue that the younger population is more likely to come into contact with illicit drugs like fentanyl and have inadvertent overdose. I worry that this is still to Anthony Brown, my buddy, that the benzo-opiate combination in an elderly patient is more likely to kill them than in a younger person, for sure. But you tell me, I'll watch the stream here. Andrew Ashkasvili, update to Texas reporting system shows we have been in decline since July 7th. Wow. So where is that recorded, Andrew? Where can I see that? Is that in the projections, COVID-19 projections? Kelly Gallagher, did you get a chance to look at the CDC update about moderate to severe asthma being a factor in getting COVID, such as having it turn into pneumonia? Yeah, Kelly, so I wrote you back on Twitter. So the question was always, is asthma a risk factor for getting COVID, for contracting COVID? And for a while, much like hypertension and getting COVID and getting complications from COVID, right? And so hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, metabolic syndrome, antiphospholipid syndrome, obesity, all these things were the risk factors for the COVID to go poorly. and I'm trying to read your thing at the same time as I answer here. It's not that easy. And asthma got off of that list per se, but apparently the CDC is still making an issue. Of course, if you have chronic lung disease and you get pneumonia, it's more challenging. It's more difficult to treat. And asthma is certainly no exception to that. So you're likely to get into more issues from a pulmonary standpoint, but maybe not from a COVID standpoint, if that makes sense. In other words, the asthma doesn't put you at risk of cytokine storm, but it puts you at risk of pulmonary problems if you get any pulmonary involvement from the COVID, right? And so I think that's really their point, if I understand it. A lot of leronlimab stuff here. Federal judge in Pennsylvania knocked down lockdown orders, citing his opinion on the Constitution. That's interesting. I would agree that it seems to me that the lockdown orders have been grossly overreached beyond the constitutional privilege that they have. But who am I to say? I'm certainly no expert in that. You shouldn't be listening to me on that one. Am I getting cold feet? Yeah, Jeremy N. He asked Susan, you should put this up somewhere. Getting cold feet for Friday's live podcast. I felt nervous just watching the ad. Me too. I talked to Tom yesterday, and it freaked me the hell out. They will have a bucket on hand, and we all know at your mom's house what that means.
I'm not going to watch.
Tom says he has not gotten over the editing process of what he plans to show me, and it really sounds horrible.
Well, I need the code if you want me to watch.
It is YMH.
I'm not paying $10.
YMH Virtual. YMHvirtual.com is where you go for this. There's quite a buzz about it. Joey Diaz will be there, and the one and only RPC is going to be there with us. Robert Paul
That's
Champagne.
nice.
He's making a visit.
Yeah, you should have fun.
How long would it take for vitamin C supplement for severe deficiency? Dustin, that's a hard question to answer. Some people, if you had severe vitamin D deficiency, I would think you'd take the prescription strength cholecalciferol, I would think. So talk to your doctor about that. It can be very difficult to get the vitamin D levels up with normal, over-the-counter products. So you definitely want to have that medically managed if it's actually clinically relevant vitamin D deficiency. And if you're low, the best way to do it, again, is to measure your levels and have your doctor follow up. Some people, I've had people on very large oral supplementations from over-the-counter medicines, like 10,000 units a day, and you still can't get their levels up. Okay. I'm going to roll back on this chat and see if I can answer any other questions for you guys that I might have missed. Are you talking about the high school student who made a model based on the flu? Or you're talking about the 14-year-old in New Mexico that built the shutdown model? She was 14, everybody. Nixon floored over the swimming pool and built a bowling alley on top of the press bowl. I think that's right. I think I'd heard that too. Alyssa asked, have I ever met the president? I have. It was very brief. It was at a podium. Just what you expect. Have we met other presidents, Susan? We've been in the Obama White House. We were in the Bush White House, but I don't think we ever
went
got
to
to
Atlanta and met Rosalind Carter.
We got to meet Rosalind Carter, who was beyond delightful. Beyond. Did a mental health thing for her. She's very focused on that. I have not talked to her in several years. All right, let's kind of wrap things up here, guys. Casey's asking, what do I think of Joe Rogan doing a 4-hour debate host? I think that nothing would be better for the country than that, but I don't think it's going to happen. By the way, even a 1-hour conversation with Biden and Trump and Rogan would be, I think, it would be enlightening for people to see these three guys just be human beings for a minute, just have a conversation, and I think it would help people make their decisions better. I really do. Did you guys watch the Vote or Miss Out thing last night on Channel 7 on ABC after Dancing with the Stars? This is now I'm going into just banter. I just want to ask a question. This is not, if you want information today, I don't seem to be in the mood.
Alex did all the talking.
Yeah.
Now it's your turn.
What'd you guys think of that? Susan, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was a good message for people.
You loved it. You told me you loved it. You said you really liked it.
Yeah,
it
wasn't really like left or right.
I thought it was very, very well done. I thought it was extremely well done.
I mean, I think it'll get the message across to people to vote. And, it's hard because people are afraid to go out. we're scaring
Yeah.
them away from the
I
polls.
thought it was
And then you
extremely-
have to fill out the paperwork to
Right.
get a ballot.
Right.
And I've filled out ballots before.
It made
Okay,
us-
now
it-
it's my turn, and
Right.
I've screwed it up, and they've come back.
Right. So it made us check our ballot stuff. It made us look
No, it
into
did-
things.
well,
It made us pay
that's-
attention. And I thought it was very, very, very well done.
They need to make it easier, though.
Dustin, it could cause overdose. I'm not advising anybody take 10,000 units of vitamin D. I'm not. I'm saying I've boosted people up to the point where actually probably 7,000. I think about it, and no overdose. Okay, so back to Dancing with the Stars. What do we think about Tyra Banks replacing Tom Bergeron? And I will give you my opinion after you guys all ring in here. Susan, what did you think?
I'm sorry about what?
Tyra replacing Tom Bergeron and
like Tyra.
Aaron Andrews. I like Tyra too.
She's got to work her way into it. It's the first show, but it was a new feeling. The whole show was a different feeling.
Right. They had the COVID thing going on, so no audience. Everyone was spaced out. It was an unusual cast with a lot of challenges. It's a whole new operation. I thought she did an amazing job. She's not going to be Tom Bergeron. She's not.
Why isn't he doing it anymore?
If you feel that familiarity gone, yeah, I love Tom too, but they decided to go a different direction. I thought, given that they decided to do something different, they did a great job.
I think it was funny, yeah.
And it's going to get better. I mean, it's a very difficult transition. The only person that, seriously guys, the only person that makes things, you're not going to like this either, that makes really hard things look easy is, now of course I'm my old brain will not come up with names.
Let me see if I can read your mind. You'll think of it. It'll come to
Ryan
you.
Seacrest.
Oh, yeah.
Ryan Seacrest makes really difficult things look easy.
Yeah, that's true. But Johnny Weir looked really sad when he got 3 sixes, though.
It's all right.
He's going to do better. He'll step it up. You don't want to be at the top at the beginning.
All right. Any last minute questions before? Yes, Amanda. It was a rough night of dancing.
Everybody's like, what?
How do we watch Tyra?
She was on Dancing with the
She was the
Stars.
host. She replaced Tom Bergeron and Dancing. And look, Tom Bergeron did 25 seasons or something. It's just done a remarkable job. They want to try something different. That's television. And for something different and first night out,
I thought she was good.
I thought she did a great job. I agree.
Drew retweeted her yesterday, too.
Yep.
He likes Tyra.
I didn't like people beating up on her. I will tell you that because it's really not fair. It's trying to replace something you're very, very familiar with, so you're already biased against liking whoever it is.
She can put up with it. She could care less.
And it's a really difficult
It's
job.
Tyra.
Yeah, I think she probably does.
No,
So-
she doesn't. She doesn't care. She just does her job and gets her paycheck. She's good. Tyra's worked in this industry for a long time. She knows how to do it.
All right, you guys, thank you for being around. There's something a little different today. Tomorrow is also different. Tomorrow we're going to talk about health messaging. We are going to have JT and Chad. These guys, if you look them up online, they're famous for having gone around and trying to give away masks. And their video went very viral. It was a brilliant health messaging scheme, I thought, and I've been sort of friendly with them since. They're known. They've been on the Stern show a bunch. They come up with, yes, Andrew, simple solutions to complex problems, and they're known for getting sent in front of city council meetings as these partying surfer dudes that they are, and advocating for maximum stoke.
I'm going to play their little thing at the end. If the sound's not good, I apologize. I'm hoping for the best.
Thank you, James, for the
Read
reminder.
the subtitles.
James Oppenheimer.
It's actually pretty funny though, but it's a huge MP3, and sometimes it shuts my computer down when I try to go back to Drew. So
Are you going to play the whole thing?
at the end? Yeah.
Okay. Robbie, I normally don't watch Dancing with the Stars, actually. I just happened to last night, and then I saw all the Twitter action on it. That's
We were
what I'm
so
talking
happy to
about.
watch something other than 90 Day Fiancé.
Or news or COVID.
There was something on TV last
I
night.
needed something mindless, and we got there.
We're like, oh my God, Dancing with the Stars is on tonight.
Yeah. It's really it's a symptom of how bad things are, guys. I'm telling
getting
you.
old.
No, it's COVID doing this. It's COVID.
I
I'm
mean,
telling
you know, we didn't even tape it in advance and then watch it later. We were on in real time.
So congratulations, Los Angeles. We were being told that our case reports would be escalated today because there was a backlog over the weekend. Well, lo and behold, we're 4.7 per 100,000. We are way down. So it's 10 days. Look, 80% of cases are in at 7 days. We're 10 days or so out from the Labor Day weekend. So you can expect that there will be no significant increase, particularly given the massive downward trend we're having. That's Los Angeles.
You know, it's really funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know that somebody could talk more than you.
Elex.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. You guys are so amazing together. I mean, you just both have a lot of charisma and intelligence and
we just talk a lot.
personalities. I mean, I guess that's what you need to be a good journalist, a good
talker on TV.
Newscaster. Yeah. I mean, I love watching him.
All right. Thank you, guys. OC did have a bump up NMP. I saw that. Let's look at that number for you. It's 150, and you were something like 40 or something yesterday.
Really?
So we'll see if that continues. I assumed when I looked at this number, that's sort of back to your baseline, frankly, and I assumed it was just because the backlog, so-called, they were talking about. Well, maybe the beaches did have an impact.
I mean, the beaches were full on Labor Day weekend, so you may see a bump up there. Obviously, I'm
not ready to believe it yet.
The places I saw that have bump ups are Tennessee, because they basically that's really high, and they also have a big college town there. It's as high as California, and it's a much smaller place.
I'm going to look
South
at it
Carolina and like the college, Ohio, and these random places, but it's where school's back.
Okay, let me just look at Ohio
session at some of these big colleges.
It's really more that their downward trend sort of plateaued. This is Ohio I'm looking at now. The death rate is up a bit. There was a little spike a couple of days ago. Hospitalization rates continue to decline. Some of the big, like Alabama and let me keep looking.
Missouri, and I looked it up last night. And I was looking to see if the school towns were.
Tennessee is continuing on a decline. Tennessee is looking good.
Tennessee was up though.
No, they had a little spike, a little one day. That's probably nothing.
I saw that they had like 2,000 cases or something.
I
was like, that's what California.
At their high, they were at 3,000 cases. Now today, they are down to 957.
Okay. Well, it goes up and down a little chart.
Right. There's a little choppiness. That's usually a trend change.
It's still pretty high for that population. It's not that big of a
957 cases.
California's is like. We have a lot.
California, whose data collecting is considered bad, we have gone from 12,000 cases down to under 2,000, 2,200. So we're way, way, way down. Hospitalizations were at 3,700 yesterday. But let's. So Ohio is a little bit choppy. Maryland, you said something was going on there. So let's look at that.
Missouri.
Maryland looks just exactly like Ohio, by the way. It's still trending down, but it's had a little plateau. And Missouri.
I think it was Alabama or something.
Let me look at Missouri. Give me a second. It's weird how different each of these states are. Missouri is different. Missouri is sort of trending up, but it's kind of trending up. It's around 1,200 cases. The hospitalizations are trending down, but only very, very slowly.
Are there schools in Missouri?
Well, there's lots of schools in Missouri, but
I know they're playing football.
Well, it's University of Missouri, but there's St. Louis, University of Missouri, St. Louis. There's University of Missouri,
St. Louis.
There's a lot of different, but this is not school related. This is something else. I don't know what's going on there, but am I looking at Michigan? Wait.
Michigan's pretty big.
I'm looking at Michigan. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Michigan, which has lots of schools. So Michigan has had some weird stuff going on. Now look at Missouri. I'm sorry, that was Michigan that was in trouble. Yeah, Missouri's going up too. Missouri is actually even more of a positive trend. Not at such. Missouri's going up. Missouri is the only state I've seen so far that has a hospitalization rate that's trending slightly up too, rather than down. So Missouri, whatever you guys are doing out there, change. I don't know what it is. Any thoughts from anyone out there who understands what's going on in Missouri? Are they if you're in Missouri, are you wearing masks there? Are you people behaving themselves?
No, I'm telling you, these are big college areas.
It could be. Absolutely. But I'm
Alabama
wondering,
too.
But I have not spoken to anybody from Missouri, and I'm just wondering if.
Well, I mean, the South has a lot.
Tyler's asking, what was my deleted tweet about? Did I delete a tweet?
Oh, I deleted the first show that we launched today because the system froze up when I had to turn the Zoom on.
Okay.
So first the show came out, and then Alex said that it wasn't working, so I turned the Zoom off. And when I turned the Zoom back on, it shut down the show. So I had to erase the first episode of this particular show. So it was just the intro. So
here's the deal, everybody. That is how powerful the Streisand effect is. That she had a little technical problem and turned something on, turned it back off, restarted, erased something, and immediately like, what was that? What'd you erase? What'd you erase? What was up there? That is the Streisand effect.
I erased it so people wouldn't click on it and not get anything. I want them to go to...
Look up the Streisand effect, everybody.
Because what happens is when we launch the show on Periscope, it goes to your Twitter immediately.
Yeah.
So people on Twitter see it and they click on it and it's 1 minute and then they may not go back. So I just erase it before I start the next... Actually, when the second show started.
So I'm getting a feedback.
A little behind the scenes technologically.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm working over here.
Getting a little feedback from people about Missouri. They're saying no mask in Missouri, and a lot of hoaxing feelings there and that kind of thing. And answer riddle me this. I'm glad you're like my clinic right now here. Has the word hoax changed its meaning a little bit? Because I think a hoax means a trick, right? And it doesn't mean a lie necessarily, and it doesn't mean see, I used the word hoax once in relation to what the press was doing with the coronavirus back in the prime days of the panic porn. And I would argue, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong or right on this. Is it not the case that a hoax involves just misleading people? And so if you're misleading people with panic porn, isn't that technically a hoax? And I think people are using hoax only to mean whole cloth lie or something. But I don't think that's really how we use the word hoax anymore. Help me, anybody. Am I right or wrong on that? Because I don't want to use it incorrectly.
Don't ask me. I
got it means not legitimate, Wendy says. Yes, regarding COVID, right.
Okay.
Hoaxing means it's like the flu. See, you guys are all over the place. To me, hoax means that they're misleading. That's misleading. But I think people are taking the hoax as sort of, there's a lot of literalism these days, and hoax means literally a lie or literally a complete fabrication. And I don't think that's really right. Yeah, okay, so Ms. Kaylee says complete lie. So she says, well,
you're going to like this Chad Goes Deep video because it's pretty much what everybody in Huntington Beach were saying in
malicious deception, Ozgirl says. So deception,
so
farce.
It's a good lead up. This is a good lead up for the video.
So humorous or malicious deception.
I'm going to play it and then if I can come back to you, I will. But can I do that?
Just a second. So a lot. So there's a growing consumption here. When you say COVID-19 is a hoax, it messages that it is a lie. Yeah, see, Miss Kaylee, that's unfortunate, I think. I think we need to, all of us here, let's do this, all of us. Let's keep talking about it. I'm gonna sign off here, but let's agree that we're gonna pay attention to what we are thinking when somebody uses the word hoax. There's a lot of that word being used out there these days, and just don't immediately jump to a meaning that you think it means. Try to understand what the person is trying to convey. I think the term has been used too much. I think we should be using words more specific, like deception or distortion or something like that. But let's all agree we're going to, because we're all over the place with the word hoax, let's pay attention to it and keep talking about it. All right, here comes our buddies. They're going to be in here with us tomorrow.
What's up, dudes? We're here in Huntington Beach to solve the mask shortage. As you can see, no one here has a mask, but we brought our own supply to fix the problem.
Guys, we've got a cure for the mask shortage. We've got masks. If anyone needs a mask, we've got them. You don't need one?
No.
Why not?
I don't know if anybody has ever explained to you that breathing your own carbon monoxide is not healthy.
Excuse me, my man. We're giving away free masks.
He's smart. He's socially distancing. Sorry, sir. Do you need a mask?
No, thank you.
Why not?
Because I live here.
What do you mean?
I live here.
Hey, do you guys need a mask?
No, we don't. Why?
You don't?
Because there's this thing called coronavirus.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a bullshit lie.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Go fuck yourself.
Hello, Pinky.
You need a mask?
No.
All right, see you later. Are you pro-mask, bro?
Do you want a mask?
Thanks. It's all fake, dude. Come on. I'm good, man.
Nah, man, that's a fraud, bro.
I like freedom, dog.
I like fresh air. To shut down the fucking country? That's bullshit, man.
I'm good.
But does wearing a mask shut down the country?
When you close down half the economy, yeah. I think so.
But can't we open it up quicker if we all wear masks?
Nah, dude, that's a talking point on the TV, bro.
Do you wear a mask? What?
I think
he's coming back. Do you need a mask?
Come here.
Get ready to run.
What else you want?
Just to give masks.
No, look, you're not making my fucking rights and not my rights, first of all.
We're just trying to hand out.
I don't give a fuck what you're trying to do. You believe in a mask? I don't.
That's cool.
Fucking leave it alone. Or
We're just.
if you want something with me, come on and get this.
No, we're not trying to fight anyone. We just want to hand out masks.
Yeah, do you want the mask? Maybe we do a happy hour at Sharky's later.
Don't be an asshole.